Good evening, everybody. I need to introduce myself first. I hope everybody knows me. My name is Daria Starozhilova. This is the Smart Language Learning Project, and I teach communication. Today, the topic is so much connected to confidence, and I hope everybody understands that. I mean, I'm not a manners coach, yeah? My objective is not to teach you how to, I don't know, manipulate people and find different things which will help you. So I am talking about confidence, first of all. Why I believe that to be polite is important. First of all, it is like a simple rule. Everybody likes nice people, right? And we are talking about be nice. But the second thing, why I think it is very important, because when you speak English, you obviously don't speak to the people of your nation. Yeah, like it is not the people who speak your native language. So it means that you come into a new culture. You come into this terra incognita, I will say it, like with my Russian accent. And it means that you need to find some kind of space in which you will be confident, in which you will be safe. Okay, I am really talking about the safe place. So I want you to understand the difference between formality and politeness, because these are two absolutely different things. So formality, like a formal style, yeah, sometimes it's not necessary, but being polite means being confident and being accepted in any kind of reality. I will be talking about communication today. I will be talking about speaking politeness. And my task is not to change who you are, is not to give you something which you will know how to use. You will not know how to use, I'm sorry. I want to give you something which will help you find your comfort zone. That's why today we are talking about language tricks, linguistic tricks, because sometimes when we learn a language, we know a lot of information, but we are not sure about functional language, yeah, how to do it. So how to be accepted, how to follow the common standard, which will be received well in any kind of communication. Why it is sometimes a tricky topic for English learners, I want you to think about your native language. I want you to think about the linguistic background you come from. So it's very possible, very much possible, that you have two different forms of you, as we, for example, have in Russian language. Yeah, we have ты and вы. In French, we have tu and vous, and so on and so on. So many languages have these different forms of you. They are grammatically connected to some kind of the structure which will show the listener, okay, like straight away, if you are being formal, polite, a little bit distant, or if you are friendly and informal. English doesn't have this difference, and this is where the problem starts. It will be the same in both levels. So that's why we will need external ways to show the respect which we want to show to some people we don't know well, or maybe we are in some kind of a tricky situation, yeah, maybe we are experiencing some difficulty or something like that. So for that we need to know some special tricks, because grammar is not helping us here. So in other languages, well, maybe it's tricky to learn that grammar, but once you know it, you will be sure that you are appropriate because you use the correct structure. So we will talk about functional language a little bit. We will talk about set expressions, and then I will also show you a couple of grammar tricks, how you can use grammar changes like to sound more polite. Again, I am not teaching you how to sound formal. I don't want you to sound cold or distant or something. No, it is both Like it can be used in any kind of context, but it will still be nice. First of all, the nice thing. Okay, so let's start with this trick, which is sometimes confusing. So we have these 3 types of sorry. Actually, we have 4 of them, but we will start with these 3 ones. So we can say excuse me, we can say pardon, and we can say I'm sorry. And in some languages, they will be translated the same. So this is the first thing which you need to remember, because you will be using these 3 words in 3 different types of contexts. Excuse me is used to start a conversation. Excuse me is used to attract someone's attention. If the person is not looking at you, or if the person, I don't know, is not going to talk to you, if you want to stop a stranger in the street. And also you use it if you want to like to go past somebody. If you are walking through the crowd, or if you, like, somebody is on your way and you want to go through, you just say excuse me. Pardon will be used to ask the person to repeat. Okay, so you didn't hear something, or you didn't understand. It happens, it's no problem. You can just ask again. Sometimes we are in such terrible situations, and we don't understand, not because your English is terrible, but we just because the situation is tricky. I will never forget this conversation I had with one of my friends in the London street, next to the riding bus, and it was really messy. I couldn't literally hear him. So that's why you just ask to repeat. Yeah, so you say pardon. And you use I am sorry as a strong phrase to apologize for something. So if you have to refuse, like if you don't want to, I don't know, to agree to this offer or something like that, so you need a reason to say I'm sorry. So you apologize through that. In this case, excuse me, to attract attention, pardon, to ask to repeat, and I'm sorry, to apologize. Sometimes you can hear that people say sorry to ask to repeat too, but it's not I am sorry, it's just sorry. But you often hear pardon, okay? Pardon, okay? Pronounce it correctly, not pardon, pardon. Let's practice a little bit. So what would you say in this situation? I will give you a couple of seconds to think it through, okay? And then I will show you the correct answer. If you have touched a person in the crowd, what will you say? So you have touched a person, so you are apologizing. In this case, you will say, I'm sorry. Okay, so because you have something to apologize for. The second situation, if you are addressing an assistant in the shop, you want to talk to an assistant who is probably not looking at you. What kind of situation is that? What will you use? You will use, excuse me. And the third type of situation, so you didn't catch what your client said. By the way, you can use this phrase to, you can say, I didn't catch that, I didn't quite catch that. And you will use pardon to ask to repeat. Please remember that what social formulas you need to know, like 100% be sure in to make sure that your communication is effective and you don't sound rude. You probably know these levels, yeah? So I like this slide very much. These are called 10 levels of politeness. And you see how many different social formulas you can use in the same sentence. So it is a little bit kind of a joke, but what I would like to drive your attention to here, look at level 3, make dinner please. Many people think that if they add please to their imperative sentence, this will mean that you are polite. But actually, it doesn't work like that in English. So make dinner, it is an imperative construction, which means command. So you are giving an order to a person. And when you add please, it doesn't change it. It's still a polite, but still a command. If we talk about manners which are appropriate for many or for most of the situations, I would say levels 4, 5, 6 will be good. Can you make dinner? Then, so it is a friendly style. You can use it in informal style. Okay. Could you make dinner? So you are becoming a bit more polite. And could you possibly make dinner, for example? Yeah, so it will even make it more, even more polite. Level 7, 8, 9, 10. Be careful not to overuse the social formulas, because if you use them too much, and that's why I'm saying that this picture is a kind of a joke. If you look at levels 9 or 10, they're really not working, just because people will think that you are mocking them and that you are disrespectful. You need to be careful not to overuse it too. Without it, levels 1 to 3, not good. Too many of them, levels 8, 9, 10, for sure. Maybe 7, well, kind of okay. So it will be also not good. What social formulas we need to remember? As I said before, can you or could you? And as I said before, can is friendly and can be used in informal style, if you know a person, if you're friends or something like that. And could you will be more formal, so could you will be appropriate for formal style. So if you have a request, if you want other people to do something for you, this is where you use can you and could you. Another structure which is very popular in English and insanely unpopular with English learners, shall I and shall we. When you say, I will do something for you, okay, so now you're not asking another person to do something, but you offer your help, or you suggest doing something together. That's why we have two phrases, yes? Shall I offer my help. Shall I explain it again? Shall we talk about it later? So this is the second one, is a suggestion. If you learned like at school, if you studied at school many years ago, probably you learned shall as a form for the future use, for defining the future. Now it's just a modal verb, and it is used in two types of contexts, and this social formula for offers and suggestions is one of them, and it is actually very popular. Okay, so shall I, shall we. Don't say I will, because it will be too direct. You still want to be polite, and you use it in many situations, to tell the truth. And the third thing which you need to remember here, so soften your messages in order not to sound too direct. So you use I'm afraid or I have to at the beginning of the sentences, especially when you are going to say something not very pleasant for the person. When you want to refuse an offer, when you want to say no, when you're telling some bad news, so you start with I'm afraid. It can be translated into some languages, but still you can't say I am sorry, I have bad news for you, because well, this is not how it is accepted to be used. But you say I'm afraid I have bad news for you. This will be a standard. These three types of structures, can you, could you, shall I, shall we, I'm afraid, and I have to. Let's practice a little bit. For example, this phrase, which sounds too direct to me, yeah, I'm afraid, I can't do that. Yeah, so how can I make it sound a little bit softer, not to hurt a person who's talking to me? So I will say, I'm afraid I can't do that. If you say I'm sorry, well, I think it's okay, but it will be like conversational, okay? So not to the standard a little bit. Do that for me, please. So this is an example of request, and I hear it a lot from my students. No, it is not polite enough. It's still a command, as I told you before. So can you do that for me? It's an informal situation. I don't want to use could, but still I'm using this question form with the social formula to make sure that it's polite enough. And I want to help you with the article. Okay, so I am coming into the room and I'm like, Yeah, I will help you. To direct to me a little bit again, how can I soften it? Shall I? Yeah, I'm offering help. It is offer, an offer. So I will say, shall I help you with the article? And again, a question. So it's recommended to use a question structure instead of the statement if you want to look polite. So this is one of the recommendations, and this way we are moving like slowly to the grammar tricks, because really there are some special types of grammar changes you can make to your structures to make them more socially acceptable. But what I would like to warn you about, so don't forget that I'm talking right now about the standards of spoken communication. So some of these things will be used in writing too, but it is only conversation. If you start mixing tenses, for example, in your statements, but not dialogues, it can be confusing for your listener. So I am talking about this dialogue you are having with the people, and you you are in contact. In this case, when you are communicating, first of all, you formulate your requests and offers in the form of the question, as I told you before. Now, it's very popular to use past forms or continuous forms for the present to make it sound less direct and more polite. So this is used in written speech too, but again in communication, not in the stories. You can't mix up the tenses in the stories. Instead of I want to ask you a question, so I want to soften it a little bit, I will say I want it. It means present here, so I still want to do it now, but this is just more a more polite formula. The same thing you can do with continuous, because continuous will help you sound more emotional. If you need this, I mean, if it's a tricky situation or something, we want to sometimes to show our soft side, okay? So I hope we can talk after lunch. This is a bit direct. I was hoping we can talk after lunch. Yeah, this is totally acceptable. This is very polite, and especially we use it in the letters a lot when we want to ask a question, a difficult question. We will say, I was wondering if. Okay, so again, I use this past continuous form to show the politeness of my question. Another one, I have to go. And so, yeah, I'm just leaving you. Okay, so let's make it a bit softer. I am afraid I have to be going. I think you have heard it. I've got to be going. Yeah, so it's time for me to leave. So you are showing that you actually, well, you you would like to stay, and this is polite. You wouldn't like to leave, for example, if you interrupt the conversation in the middle. Okay, so let's practice again a little bit. Think about the structure here. Look at this statement, and how would you change it to make it sound more polite? So I wanted to ask you a question, as I just said to you. Yeah, so I wanted to discuss my offer with you or something like that. Okay, what time do you want to meet? Do you want is very direct. So you will replace it with the past simple. What time did you want to meet? So as a set expression, you can also use this phrase, and remember this phrase. When you are offering somebody to meet, you can say you will hear this response. What time were you thinking? So again, yeah, like, I mean, what time did you have in mind? So you use this past to demonstrate the politeness and to demonstrate your respect. Okay, and the second thing. And again, I will warn you a little bit. So using the soft expressions to soften, like to make your statement sound more subjective, I would say. Sometimes they warn you from, so they don't recommend you to use two direct constructions and to use a bit, or maybe I think, maybe a little, maybe quite. So to sound a little bit vague, not to sound too direct, as we say it, like be careful, because this way of softening the phrases is prohibited in written speech. If you are writing a letter, if you are writing an article, an essay, formal writing forbids vague expressions. They don't recommend to use too many adverbs. But for communication, for speaking, it is totally acceptable, and it will actually help you and like the impression you're making. Instead of he's hard to deal with, we will say he's a bit hard to deal with. Instead of we will stop working together, I'm finishing it. So you will say, I'm afraid we will have to stop working together. You see, I'm making it a bit more personal. I start with I'm making it more subjective. So this allows me to be polite and not to hurt the feelings of the person who is listening to me. But again, it is forbidden in formal writing. There has been a mistake. You can say it looks like there has been some mistake. Now, these are the ways to play with the grammar a little bit, to make sure that your communication is positive, respectful, and that you are actually winning it, because if you are nice, so you will be popular. Let's have a look at it. So it's too expensive. Yeah, you're refusing the offer of your potential supplier, for example. So you can say, I'm afraid it's a bit too expensive for me. Again, pay attention how I'm making it a bit subjective. Be careful if you are making a statement, if you are making a presentation, don't use that, because it will ruin your authority as an expert. Again, you can only use it in the dialogue. That's not right. Okay, I disagree. Don't disagree so rudely. Okay, that doesn't seem right to me. This looks like and seems, they are universal verbs which we use a lot for making our statements more polite. I will repeat it for you. So, secret one, this difference of social phrases like excuse me, pardon, I'm sorry. Secret two, use your structures. Know the structures which are used for every type of function. So can you, could you for requests, shall I, shall we for suggestions, and I'm afraid to start a sentence if you are saying about something not very positive. So grammatically, you use past or continuous forms of the verbs in questions and requests, and you use softening expressions to make your statements more subjective. Please find me on my website, stordar.com. So also the Facebook page, Smart Language Learning, and also the Twitter account, I believe, Stordar Learn. And if you have any questions, of course, you can contact me any moment. So send me an email, contact me through their website. So I hope I have helped you with your communication skills today. And I will be very happy to see you at the next webinar in February.